What if getting rich isn't just about money, but about fulfilling your soul's mission? What if staying broke is not a sign of humility, but a betrayal of your true potential? And what if wealth, when aligned with purpose, becomes the most powerful spiritual path you can walk? These are not just clever questions. They are invitation keys to a door most people never dare to open. For too long, money has been painted as the villain in our human story. It's been blamed for greed, corruption, suffering, and even spiritual downfall. And so, countless good-hearted people unconsciously distance themselves from wealth-believing poverty, to be pure, and riches, to be corrupt. But what if this story is upside down? What if the truth is, you are meant to be rich not for selfish gain, but because the world needs what only you, in your abundance, can bring forth? Take a deep breath, because in this chapter, we're going to peel back the illusions, confront the myths, and uncover why getting rich isn't a luxury, it's a spiritual responsibility. Chapter 1. The misconception of wealth. Let's begin with the most persistent lie: that money is evil. You've heard it whispered in churches, spoken in homes, passed down like an unquestionable law. Money is the root of all evil. But pause. For a moment, that's not even the full verse. The original scripture says, "The love of money is the root of all evil." A very different meaning. Somewhere along the way, the words got twisted, shortened, and weaponized against wealth itself. And so generation after generation absorbed the same damaging belief. To be spiritual, you must be poor. To be humble, you must reject wealth. To be good, you must live with less. But here's the truth. Money itself is neutral. It has no morals, no hidden agenda, no power to corrupt. It is energy, pure and simpler tool, a mirror in the hands of a selfish heart. Money magnifies greed. But in the hands of a loving soul, money magnifies goodness, compassion, and healing. Think of it this way. Fire can burn down a home, or it can warm a family through the night. Water can drown, or it can quench thirst. Electricity can destroy, or it can light up a city. The element itself is neutral. What matters is the intention behind its use. Money is the same dot, and yet, because of centuries of fear, shame, and cultural conditioning, millions of people still sabotage their own relationship with wealth. They live paycheck to paycheck, convincing themselves they are being humble. They turn away opportunities because money doesn't matter. They suppress their dreams because wanting more feels greedy. But here's the deeper danger. By believing these lies, they not only block their own prosperity, they also block their ability to serve. A person who rejects wealth rejects their capacity to give at the highest level. This is the great misconception of wealth. Not that it corrupts, but that by avoiding it, you somehow become more pure. The reality is, when you stay broke, you limit your impact, you shrink your voice, you mute your mission. And so, the question is not, is money evil? The question is, who will you become once wealth is in your hands? This is the turning point. Because once you see that money is neutral, you're ready for the next revelation, that wealth is not just an option, it's a responsibility. Chapter 2. Wealth as a spiritual responsibility. Once we strip away the illusion that money itself is evil, a profound truth emerges. Wealth is not a luxury, it is a responsibility. Think about it. When you are struggling to pay your bills, your mind is consumed by survival. Every ounce of your energy is spent worrying about rent, food, or debt. Your creativity is stifled. Your generosity is restricted, and your vision narrows to just getting by. But when you step into wealth, true wealth, do free yourself from survival mode. And with that freedom comes a new question. What will you do with this abundance? Wealth is not simply about accumulating money for yourself. It is about unlocking your capacity to serve at a higher level. It is about being able to help your family, uplift your community, and transform the world. Wealth expands your reach. it amplifies your voice. It fuels your mission. Think of the great visionaries, innovators, and change-makers throughout history. They didn't create lasting impact from a place of lack. They had resources, they had influence, they had the power that money, when aligned with purpose, provides. Without wealth, their dreams would have remained whispers. With wealth, they became movements. And let's be honest, poverty doesn't serve the world. Struggling in silence, barely making ends meet, does not make you more spiritual. It only limits your ability to give. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you are wealthy, however, you can pour abundantly. You can fund causes that matter. You can create opportunities for others. You can provide jobs, support innovations, and inspire a ripple effect of prosperity that extends far beyond your own life. Here's the paradox. People who fear money often say, "I just want to make enough for myself," but isn't that the very definition of selfishness? To earn only enough to survive without creating overflow for others. True selflessness is stepping into abundance so that your overflow can bless countless lives. Wealth then becomes sacred. It is no longer about status or materialism. It is about service. It is about using your prosperity as a force for good. It is about living your purpose with power, instead of shrinking your light because you're too busy worrying about survival. So here is the challenge. Stop thinking of wealth as optional. Start seeing it as part of your soul's calling to reject. Wealth is to reject opportunities to serve. To embrace wealth is to say yes to your mission, to your gifts, and to the people waiting for you to rise. And when you see wealth through this lens, a powerful realization follows. Riches without meaning are empty, but riches with purpose become divine. Now, with this foundation, we are ready to explore something even more transformative: the way purpose and wealth, when aligned, can unlock a life of extraordinary meaning. Chapter 3: The Power of Purpose-Driven Riches. We have uncovered a profound truth. Wealth is not optional, it is a responsibility. But here lies an even deeper question: what gives wealth its true power? The answer is purpose. Without purpose, money is like a river with no direction. It floods aimlessly, sometimes even causing destruction. But when guided by purpose, money becomes like a powerful current carving valleys, nourishing lands, creating life. Think about it. Money itself is neutral. It is energy, waiting for intention. In the wrong hands, it can be used for greed, manipulation, or destruction. In the right hands, aligned with a higher calling, it can heal, uplift, and inspire. This is why riches, when driven only by ego or desire, eventually feel empty. You may acquire cars, houses, or fame, but the satisfaction fades quickly. Because deep down, the soul does not crave possessions. It craves meaning. And meaning comes only when your wealth serves a higher purpose. The hidden strength of alignment, when your financial goals align with your soul's calling. A powerful synergy takes place. Suddenly, money stops being a burden and becomes a tool. Work no longer feels like drudgery, but like an expression of who you are. Your business, your career, or your investments become more than strategies for survival, they become vehicles of service. This is why purpose-driven entrepreneurs often rise above the competition. They are not simply chasing profit, they are driven by impact. Their vision goes beyond themselves, and that magnetism draws others in. Employees want to work for them. Customers want to support them. Communities want to uplift them. Purpose-driven wealth carries a magnetic energy. People can feel it. They can see that your success is not only about you, it's about them too. Why purpose protects you from emptiness. History is filled with examples of the wealthy who gained everything but lost themselves. They had riches without direction, and their lives collapsed into addiction, depression, or isolation. They mistook accumulation for fulfillment. Purpose acts as your anchor. It reminds you why you sought wealth in the first place, not to hoard it, but to multiply goodness, not to prove your worth. Purpose keeps you from being enslaved by money, because you are using money to serve something greater than yourself. The call to redefine riches. So let us redefine what it means to be rich. True richness is not measured by the number in your bank account. It is measured by the number of lives your wealth touches. If your riches elevate humanity, if your money empowers love, growth, and contribution, then you are truly wealthy. If your wealth flows back into the world, you are creating a legacy that transcends your own lifetime. Purpose-driven riches transform money from paper into power. They transform possessions into blessings. They transform success into significance. And here lies the invitation for you. 2. Stop asking, how much can I earn? And begin asking, how much good can I create? Because when purpose and riches walk hand in hand, prosperity becomes more than financial. It becomes spiritual. It becomes a force that awakens not only your own life, but the lives of countless others. Chapter 4. Overcoming guilt and fear around money. There is a strange gravity that pulls at so many of us when money arrives. A heaviness in the chest, a quickening of shame, a whisper that we somehow didn't deserve it. You can be the kindest person, the most service-oriented soul, and still feel a strange shrinking the moment your bank balance grows. That shrinking is guilt. That whisper is fear. And together they can quietly sabotage everything you're trying to build. The hidden weight of money, guilt about money, is rarely reasonable. It's inherited. It's passed down through dinner table sayings, through sermons and sideways looks. We must be humble, a parent says. Don't be showy, the community warns. A child absorbs those phrases and stitches them into identity. To want more is to betray others. To earn more is to become less kind. But notice how odd that is when you actually examine it. If you earn more and use those resources to feed children, hire local workers, fund healing, or support education, how is that guilt useful? The truth is, guilt rarely protects anyone. It only keeps you small. I once met Priya, a brilliant healer, who refused to charge more than a token for her work. She felt guilty for making money while her neighbors struggled. Her clinic barely survived, and she lived exhausted, resentful and under-resourced. That, guilt born of a noble desire not to hurt others, had become the hand that prevented her from being the kind of force for good she wanted to be. Fear of wealth and its consequences. Fear sits beside guilt. Fear asks, what if money changes me? What if people judge me? What if I lose it? So many of our actions are stealth decisions born from those questions. We undercharge, we sabotage promising deals, we avoid visibility. The irony is painful. Fear protects us from imagined consequences while ensuring real ones lack stress. Limited impact. Fear also creates a behavioral economy inside us. It fuels avoidance patterns, procrastination on important financial choices, refusal to negotiate. Anemic investment in growth. Over time, those small acts of self-protection compound into a life circumscribed by scarcity. Shift the narrative. Money as neutral energy. Here's the radical but freeing perspective. Money itself is neither moral nor immoral. Money amplifies what you already are. It is a neutral current. In the hands of a generous person, it becomes generosity magnified. In the hands of a greedy person, greed spreads. If you let guilt or fear dictate your relationship with money, you will inevitably channel those energies into your finances. So the first inner move is simple. Separate the meaning you inherited from the reality of what money can actually do. Speak this aloud. Money is a tool, not a moral verdict. Say it until your body stops flinching. This is not intellectual. This is permission. Practical steps to release guilt and fear. Words shift states, but practice cements them. Below are concrete, tested practices, small, repeatable experiments that rewire belief through experience. Name the script. Journal prompt: write the sentence you hear most about money from your past. Example: rich people are selfish. Then write the origin, who said it, when, and why it may have been true then, but not now. Naming gives perspective. Reframe with evidence. Take that old sentence and craft an opposite, testable statement. If the story is "I must suffer to be spiritual," reframe to "I can serve more powerfully from a place of freedom." Test it with a small action. Raise your fee by 10% for 1 month and track what changes. Clients, confidence, ability to give, micro experiments to disprove fear. Try receiving practice. Accept a genuine compliment about your work without deflecting it 3 times a day for a week. Notice how hard it is and how your nervous system adjusts. Or do a giving experiment. Set aside a small sum you will give anonymously. Observe the internal response. Often, giving reduces fear, improves abundance, circulates. Ritualize gratitude for money. Each time money arrives paycheck, tip a sale, pause and say, "Thank you for the chance to serve." Keep a wealth gratitude ledger. Every deposit, note one thing that money made possible. Gratitude rewires the nervous system from scarcity to appreciation. Therapeutic repair. If guilt feels ancient and embedded, seek modalities that clear inherited patterns. Therapy, inner child work, or guided forgiveness letters. Say to your younger self, "You did what you needed to survive. Now you can choose differently." Create a giving engine. Earmark a percentage of income for purposeful giving, 2%, 5%, or whatever feels brave but practical. This channels wealth outward and dissolves the sense that keeping money is selfish. It also trains your nervous system to witness flow rather than hoarding. Affirmations with embodied action. Use short affirmations that are true and immediately provable. I provide value that is generously rewarded. Follow each affirmation with a tiny proof: an invoice sent, a proposal written, a conversation scheduled. Living beyond fear. A new relationship with money. Imagine waking to money as an ally rather than a test. Imagine receiving without shame, giving without obligation, investing without panic. That life is possible. And it is ordinary for people who practice the steps above. The core shift is internal, from worthiness as something to earn to worthiness as your inherent state. When that inner axis shifts, external decisions align. Priya, the healer, followed a simple plan. She raised her rates modestly, began a scholarship program paid from that uplift, and recorded a short video explaining why she charged what she did. Clients stayed, or the right ones came, and her capacity to serve widened. Guilt didn't vanish overnight, but she learned to steward resources, to measure impact, and to feel proud of the good her money enabled. Let me be blunt. The world needs people who can both feel and fund a vision. Guilt and fear are not marks of virtue. They are brakes on the vehicle of service. Releasing them is a spiritual act, as much as it is a financial one. When you move beyond shame and worry, wealth stops being an obstacle and becomes a tool with enormous creative potential. Next, we will look at exactly how wealth can be used with intention, not to build a personal fortress, but to craft contribution and a lasting legacy. In the last chapter, we'll explore practical blueprints for turning resources into change, how to design your wealth so it multiplies goodness long after you're gone. Chapter 5. Wealth as a tool for contribution and legacy. When you strip away the noise, the glitter, and the distractions, wealth reveals its truest form, not as something you hoard, but as something you share. Wealth is not the finish line. It is not the end of the story. Wealth is the ink with which you write your story of contribution, of impact, and ultimately of legacy. Many people spend their lives chasing money as if money itself were the prize. But here's a profound truth. Money has little value until it touches lives beyond your own. It is when your resources uplift others, when your abundance solves problems bigger than you, that your wealth becomes meaningful. Number 1, the higher purpose of riches. Think of wealth not as ownership, but as stewardship. You are a caretaker of resources that can move mountains, shift communities, and transform futures. When you see money as a divine trust, something given to you not just for comfort, but for contribution, you begin to understand why true prosperity carries responsibility. Your riches are not only meant to sustain your lifestyle, they are meant to sustain your impact. And in that shift, you no longer feel guilty for desiring wealth. You see it as your sacred duty to expand it because, through you, blessings can flow to countless others. Number 2, contribution as a measure of true wealth. Real wealth is not measured by the number of zeros in your account. It is measured by the number of lives touched by your generosity. Consider the philanthropist who builds schools, the entrepreneur who creates jobs, the artist who funds clean water projects with her earnings. Their wealth circulates, it moves outward. Good wherever it goes. Contribution is the heartbeat of lasting wealth. Without it, riches become a cage of emptiness. With it, they become a symphony that keeps echoing long after you are gone. Ask yourself, how can my wealth flow outward? How can it solve real problems, create opportunities, or bring hope where there is despair? That is when your wealth transcends your bank account and becomes part of a greater story. Number 3, designing your wealth for impact. Living as a conscious wealth creator means designing your resources with intention. You can choose to channel part of your income toward causes that matter to you: education, health, art, innovation, the environment. It doesn't have to be grand or global to be powerful. Even small, consistent acts of giving shape ripples you may never fully see. A scholarship for one student, a microloan for one family, a donation that plants one tree. All of these are threads in the larger fabric of contribution. Wealth aligned with intention is like a river redirected. It no longer pools in one place. It flows, nourishing everything along its path. Number 4, wealth beyond your lifetime. Building legacy. Here lies one of the deepest callings of money. Legacy is not simply about leaving behind assets. It is about leaving behind a living message. A message of who you were, what you believed in, and what you stood for. Your wealth can carry your voice into the future. It can tell your children and their children what mattered most to you. It can whisper to future generations, "This is how I chose to live. This is how I chose to give." Whether it's funding a foundation, writing a book, building a family business, or simply instilling values of generosity into your children. Legacy is the immortality of meaning carried through wealth. Number 5, living as a conscious wealth creator. So, how do you embody this way of living today? Begin by aligning your money with your values. Ask yourself with every decision, does this purchase, this investment, this use of my wealth align with the person I aspire to be? Practice gratitude daily for the resources you already have, while holding a vision for how they can expand into greater service, and most importantly, see every financial choice as an opportunity to reinforce the story you want your wealth to tell. Because every dollar is a vote, every dollar is energy, and every dollar either expands your legacy or diminishes it. Wealth is not about accumulation, it is about circulation. It is not about possession, it is about transformation. When you begin to see money as a tool for contribution and legacy, you no longer chase it out of fear or desire alone. You embrace it as a sacred responsibility, as a divine invitation. And with this understanding, you stand ready to step into the final, most powerful truth, that the call to get rich is not a selfish call, but a sacred one. Final reminder, The sacred call to get rich. At this point, the truth is undeniable. Wealth is not about greed. It is not about ego. It is not about chasing shiny objects that fade with time. Wealth is about alignment. Alignment with your purpose, your power, and your responsibility to life itself. Getting rich is not optional, it is sacred. Because when you choose to expand your prosperity, you are also choosing to expand the reach of your impact, the depth of your contribution, and the strength of your legacy. The false story versus the real story. The world has told you a false story, that wanting money is selfish, that ambition is dangerous, that to be spiritual, you must be poor. But the real story is this: to awaken spiritually is to see wealth for what it truly is: energy, flow, possibility. 2. Awaken spiritually is to realize that abundance in your hands means hope in the hands of others. To awaken spiritually is to accept that poverty does not serve the world, but prosperity with purpose does. The call to rise. So here is your invitation. Rise into your wealth, not for the shallow thrill of more, but for the deeper calling of meaning. Step into your abundance, not to separate yourself from others, but to serve them more fully. Embrace riches, not as chains, but as wings that carry you, and those you touch, to higher ground. This is your moment to release guilt, to transcend fear, and to see wealth as the sacred tool it has always been, a legacy worth building. In the end, the question is not, will you make money? The question is, what story will your money tell? Will it tell a story of smallness, of hesitation, of fear, or will it tell a story of courage, of contribution, of a soul that chose to rise? Your wealth can be your greatest prayer. A prayer written not with words, but with action. A prayer that outlives you, that blesses generations, that echoes in eternity. So hear this clearly. To get rich is not to betray your spirit. To get rich is to honor it, because wealth aligned with love, guided by purpose, and used in service, is one of the holiest expressions of who you truly are. This is not just a call to wealth, this is a sacred call to awaken, to rise, to build, and to give. The sacred call to get rich. Thank you for spending this moment with Awaken Light Audio. If something today touched your heart or opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. What spoke to you most? Tell us about your journey, your questions, your breakthroughs, and let us know what you'd love to hear next. Subscribe to stay connected. And if this message could uplift someone you care about, send it their way, because light grows when it's shared. Until next time, stay present, stay awakened, and keep becoming who you're meant to be.